Well, it is a gloomy spring day, and I am doing the last video for our Mitsubishi Mirage long-term test car. We've done the long-term intro, we do a walk around, I tell you a little bit about the car and its features. We did a written piece where we compared the Mitsubishi Mirage against its used competitors, and we road tripped it to Sudbury and back to see how it handled a Canadian road trip. Now, this is the culmination of all the driving we've been doing on this car, the wrap-up. If you're not caught up, that's okay, I'll catch you up. This is a Mitsubishi Mirage ES manual, the base model. It's the most affordable car that Mitsubishi sells, and second only to the Chevy Spark, it is the second most affordable car you can buy in Canada. However, for the end of this year, the Chevy Spark will no longer be available, which means that next year, this will be the most affordable car you can buy. This one, as you see it, retails at $14,098, and you can, through various trim levels, go all the way up to roughly about $20,000. Like I said, this is the ES manual, the most basic. It means it has manual locks, manual windows in the back, power windows up front, and a 5-speed manual transmission. Through this long-term test, we wanted to answer the question, is this enough car for most Canadians, or is it frankly too basic to be considered an only car? Well, let's turn the key, not a button, and go for a drive. Now I'm going to start with my first thing I don't like about this car, which is that every time after I turn it on, the radio turns on to the same song. That's one thing I do find is annoying with the Mitsubishi Infotainment System. Every time you turn on the vehicle, it queues up the most recently played song in your phone, or worst of all, it sometimes plays alphabetically the first song in your iTunes. So I get to hear Ace of Spades a lot. Every single Mitsubishi Mirage has the same 1.2-liter inline 3-cylinder engine. It makes 78 horsepower and 74 pound-feet of torque. It's not a lot. It's actually 22 less than you would get in a Chevy Spark. You can get it with a 5-speed manual, as we have here, only in the ES manual base trim, or it comes with a CVT automatic transmission in basically all the other trim levels. However, there might be plans to expand the 5-speed manual into more model ranges. The first thing everyone wants to know is, what is this thing like to drive? If you go on the internet, you'll find a lot of opinions from people that haven't driven them. The Mitsubishi Mirage is the lightest car you can buy new in Canada, 2,095 pounds. It's lighter than any sports car you can think of. It's actually a little bit lighter than the Mazda Miata. Because of that, there is a noticeable lack of insulation in here. Everything you touch is noticeably light. The doors, the glass, everything in the car feels light, because it is. It was made to be light so that the car could be cheap to build and also efficient on fuel. To that aim, the Mitsubishi Mirage gets 5.8 liters per 100 kilometers on the highway, and the CVT gets a little bit better at 5.4, which is quite good. However, that's during the official EPA highway test. And if you drive between 90 and 100 kilometers an hour, you can probably beat that estimate by quite a bit. I did. But if you are going to be doing long stints at over 120 kilometers an hour, I found that you are really only going to get into the 6s, 6.2, 6.1 liters per 100 kilometers an hour. And that's because at speed, the little 3-cylinder is working hard. And that's not an issue with a larger car like a Honda Civic that might have a 1.5 or even a 2-liter engine. They're not working as hard to do those speeds, whereas this little 1.2, it's working to move this thing at 120. But otherwise, being small has many perks. I can park this thing absolutely anywhere. The turning circle is ridiculously small. There's no parking spot I cannot wedge this car into. It is so easy to drive this car in downtown. Also, the small cabin warms up quickly in the winter. The heater works great, as does the automatic climate control, which automatically modulates the fan so that you don't get blasted with cold air the minute you turn on the car. I like that, and it's impressive for the price point. The shift feel on the Mirage is somewhat vague compared to, something like a Toyota or a Honda. It's not as well defined. I never found it difficult to use, but it isn't as clear. Again, this is one of the compromises you're going to be making with a car that frankly costs this little. Now let's talk about things I learned in this car that I couldn't learn in a week. One of them is that the factory Mitsubishi floor mats are not ready for winter. The Mitsubishi floor mat ends before the gas pedal, which means all the muck that your foot drips as it uses the gas pedal, which you need to drive, ends up on the actual carpet of the car and not the rubber mat. It seems so preventable if they had just moved the floor mat up a few more inches. I don't know why they didn't. But if I was going to own this car, I would invest in a new set of floor mats almost immediately. That's kind of a really preventable problem, because otherwise it's just going to ruin that carpet when you drive this car in winter. The other thing I learned about this car is that it is unstoppable in winter weather. It will absolutely just slice through any snow or ice you put it in. I haven't found inclement conditions yet that I would not drive this car in, with the notable exception of the Toronto blizzard that happened. When we got about, I think, 16 inches of snow, I tried it out in that, and I got about 6 feet. So if you got 16 inches of unplowed snow, maybe don't take the Mirage. Otherwise, it's quite capable. But in the end, I learned that the Mirage doesn't really deserve all the criticisms I've been hearing about this car. All the things that people complain about, you know, the noise on the highway, the lightweight of the doors, the interior plastics, these aren't things unique to the Mirage. These are things that you just get on small, low-priced cars. They come with the territory. It isn't trying to impress anyone. It simply is what it is, and it does what it does. It drives how it looks, and it does everything you expect it to, and it doesn't do anything that you don't expect it to. It's an honest car. So that wraps up our long-term test coverage of the Mitsubishi Mirage. We drove this car a lot, and we learned a lot. I learned that if you really want economical transport, this is definitely a car you should consider. Is a Spark a better car? Yes. However, I also learned, comparing it with the used market, that being a better car isn't all that matters in the current market. It doesn't matter if you can't actually find one and buy one. So what do I want from the Mirage? What do I wish Mitsubishi would change? Well, I wish they offered the manual transmission on more trim levels, and I wish that they offered more fun colors on the base trim levels as well. And I also wish it would stop playing Ace of Spades every time I turn the car on. Aside from that, I'm quite happy with the Mirage. It's a good, honest little car, and I might miss driving it. For Driving.ca, I'm Clayton Seams, and for more long-term tests, don't forget to check our website. And let us know what we should drive next in the comments below.